Hi besties and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought we could do a really quick video just going through my top 10 books so far this year. I've tried to film kind of different versions of this quite a few times, and I was more so doing like just going over all the books I've read, like doing tier ranking, that kind of thing, and I just wasn't loving the videos. So instead I thought we could just talk about my top 10 so far in the year and kind of just talk a bit more in depth about the ones that I've obviously liked more than the others. And yeah, I feel like we should get straight into it, but I will say so far I have read 46 books this year, so I'm not on track for my goal, but I'm happy with it because obviously I've started a full-time job, I don't have as much time to read, and yeah, 10 out of the 46 books is what I've got here, and we should just get straight into it. This is not in ranked order, by the way, but the first book I want to talk about is Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I feel like this is one that you guys would know that I love if you watch my videos. I love this the most out of all the books I've read so far. I only have 3 books left of the Throne of Glass series now, and for context, I read this one first, which I do feel like probably has an effect on how people feel about the book. But for me, it was a 5 stars. I really loved it. I felt very emotional reading it, and that's coming from someone that's not particularly emotional. I just really loved this. What this book follows is Selena in like her life before the Throne of Glass series, and it's more just about her being an assassin. You don't really find out too much of like her early life in this book, but you get to see what happened to her and like sort of where she got her skills, that kind of thing, because obviously it all comes into play later in the series, and the whole reason that she's kind of in the position she's at in the beginning of Throne of Glass is because of this book. So that's why I read it first. I felt like I wanted to do it that way, and the end of this book really seamlessly goes into Throne of Glass because of what happens at the end of this book and then beginning of Throne of Glass. And yeah, it's just a really good book to get to know Selena and also to understand how she feels about certain people and maybe why she's the way she is. Then my second book to talk about is A 7 Year Slip by Ashley Boston. This is another one of my 5-star reads for the year. I love it. Again, another one I feel like I've talked about quite a lot. I just love this book. I don't even know what it is about this book, but I know so many people love it. So it's not just me that feels this way. It pretty much follows Clementine, and she moves into the flat that her aunt owned, I'm pretty sure, and her aunt has passed away, so that's why she's able to move in there. And it kind of follows her living this life. I think it might be in New York. I can't 100% remember, but it's very city vibes. She's living in this flat, and it actually goes back in time. And when she goes back in time, she's there with Ewan. That's how I would say his name. I don't really know, but Ewan is also there. They just kind of build this connection, and then I won't say anything else. But I loved Clementine and Ewan together. I loved Ewan. I loved that this book wasn't just a romance. It was very much about family connections, also how having like a tight friend group is nice, and how that like helps you in your life as well and kind of gets you out of harder places. I just love this one, but I feel like everyone loves this one. If you don't love this one, I'd be very interested to know why. The next one, and one of my more recent ones, is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This was in my Reading Summer Books video, and it's about 4.5 stars, so not as high as the other two, but I still have like a special place in my heart for this book and the characters in this book, because we obviously know Charlie from Every Summer After. I feel like basically this book follows on from Every Summer After, and Every Summer After follows Percy and Sam, and they are like childhood friends that live next door to each other on this lake in Barry's Bay, and they all start off as friends. Charlie is Sam's older brother. I love Every Summer After probably more than this one, but I still love this one, and I was really excited to see where Charlie's story would go after Every Summer After, just because of the things that happen. But I feel like I had a personal soft spot for Charlie in Every Summer After. So seeing this one where he meets the female main character Alice was just really nice, and Alice is back on the lake after like 15 years or something to stay with her nan because her nan, she just feels like they both need a bit of a break, and that's why they go there. And then the romance between Alice and Charlie stems from there, and I just really, really loved it. I said it in my summer video, but I'll say it again. Carly Fortune's books are just the most summery vibes you can get, so definitely save them for the summer. I am so glad that she's releasing like a book every summer because it's just perfect. And I think she just announced she's releasing another one, so that's really exciting. The next book I have is Us Against You by Frederick Backman. This was probably my first higher rated book of the year. I read it in winter time. I feel like it's definitely a good idea to read these in winter, but I think this one actually may have took place during the summer. I can't quite remember, but one of the two books, Beartown or Us Against You, actually takes place during summer, but because they're in like Sweden or Finland, one of those countries, it feels wintry still, even though it's not. And they were obviously in Beartown, which is a small town in the middle of like the forest. This book is the second one in the series. Obviously, I really loved Beartown, and I also really love this one. It's not as high in my mind as Beartown because there's just something about Beartown. You need to read it if you haven't already, but this one was really nice. We have a few extra characters basically, and I feel like I can't really say much about this one because it's just such a unique story. Beartown is so unique. Like, what I'll say is it's a book about a town that kind of revolves around ice hockey, and then how they're going to deal with the fact that that's kind of come crumbling down. I'll say that. I don't want to go too far into it, but that's what happens in Beartown, and then this is very much building back up on the town. There's obviously been some stuff going on that like people are having to deal with and other people are getting involved in. It's just really good. I can't say anything else because I'll spoil stuff, but please read the series. Then the next book I have is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This one, I feel like most of these books are in series, so it's a bit hard to talk about them. But this one follows Annie and Will. Will is the bodyguard of the female main character in When in Rome, which is the first book, and Annie is the male main character in When in Rome's younger sister or youngest sister. So it's an interconnected series. They live in Rome, Kentucky, and Will is basically, he's obviously a bodyguard, but he likes his job. Like, he likes the unpredictability of his job, and he's very much like, once he's done this bit of his job, he's going to move on. And then Annie comes into the picture and maybe it all changes. I don't know. It's just very much like, I wouldn't say grumpy sunshine. She is quite sunshine. He is a little bit grumpy, but he always has that soft spot for Annie, I feel like. And he flirts with her from the beginning. Like, it's very obvious that he is like, he likes her, even if it was just in like a friendship way. It's very obvious. So I wouldn't quite go with grumpy sunshine, but it has that kind of vibe. Then I have the Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. This is the only Catherine Center book I've read, and I really love this book. This was in my Reading Romance for a Week video, which was also where I read The 7 Year Slip. So it's a very strong video for books that I loved. I really enjoyed this one, but I had mixed feelings about it just because of the health anxiety aspect of this book. And anytime I talk about this, I'm just going to put a little PSA out there because it did really affect me, and I didn't even necessarily know that I would be that triggered by it. So definitely mentions of just health in general, but like health anxiety is a part of this book as well. It's one of those books where you're enjoying it as it goes, and then the ending is what like really sells you on it and really makes you love it. It follows Emma, who has been looking after her dad for, I think it was like a decade, like 10 years, and she gets this opportunity to co-write or something along those lines for an author that she really admires, and she doesn't really know how she feels about it because she doesn't want to leave her dad when she's kind of had this whole plan for him and has been looking after him. But she does end up going, and Charlie is the author, and he is very grumpy and kind of horrible in a way at the beginning, and it just goes from there. Like, I know that doesn't really sell it, but he just gets better, and it all makes sense in the end. But obviously, whilst you're reading it, you are a bit like, I don't know about you, but it does make sense in the end, but there's just a lot of health stuff going on in this book. Like, it's pretty much every character has something going on, so just know that going into it. Then the next book I have is Unmaking of Farrow. This is actually my most recent read, and you will hear more about it in my August wrap up, but I thought I could quickly talk about what I loved about it now. It follows June Farrow, obviously, and she is from a line of women who are just kind of known to go a bit crazy, basically. And that's what she's been expecting her whole life. That's what she's seen in the women in her family. That's what the perception of them are in the town. They're in like a smaller town. I think it's in like, it's country kind of vibes, but it's kind of confusing to talk about because I don't know how much of it. Yeah, you don't really know from the blurb what the story is about, so I won't talk more than that. But she basically goes a bit further into her life and like her lineage, and the story goes from there. I'll leave it at that. I rated it 4.5. I really loved it. I wasn't expecting to love it. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a perfect book for like this August, September time of year. Then the seventh, I think, or eighth book is These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. This book is the second book in the These Hollow Vows duology, although I think there's been some other books added that I don't think I'll be reading. This one, I can't remember what I rated it, maybe a 4.25. I really enjoyed it. I feel like this book is, or just this series is a bit like, not hated on, I think that's a bit strong of a word, but I feel like a lot of people give up on the first one, and I didn't, and I really found myself enjoying the first one and this one. I think I prefer the first one, but it was still really good. I really enjoyed it. It's obviously a fantasy and it follows Bree, which is the character you can see on the front. She is living with her sister in like, basically she kind of is giving Cinderella vibes, if that makes sense. Like, her and her sister are working for an evil person, I guess, like an evil stepmom, but obviously not a stepmom, and they kind of just don't live a very good life. And Bree has found that she's able to steal stuff to get more money for them, and that's kind of like her little hidden talent, but obviously it's very risky. And yeah, that's kind of what Bree is, and then kind of goes from there, and she obviously ends up in a Fey world, but I won't go further than that. I really liked it. I will say it's love triangle, which I didn't love it. It obviously made the story what it is, but I didn't love that aspect of it. I also didn't love either of the male characters, to be honest. Like, there was definitely really good parts of both of them, but there was also kind of bits that I wasn't really loving. So yeah, but I really did like just how magical the book is, and I really could imagine all of the world, which I think is quite hard, especially for me. I'm someone that can't picture things in my head. Like, I don't see images in my head. I just read the words and that's it. And like, when I'm picturing something, I'm picturing the words describing it, if that makes sense. I don't actually see it. With this book, I really could see it, but not literally because I can't see it. Then my ninth book is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This was a 4.5, I think I gave it in the end. I think I did a reading blog for this one, so I don't need to go too far into it, and also I feel like everyone knows what this series is about, but it is the Powerless series, and this is the last book, so can't really say too much about what happens in this one, but it is the newest one, it's the last one. And Powerless basically follows Payden, who is an ordinary in a world where there's not meant to be any ordinaries. Basically, everyone's meant to have some sort of power, even if it's a very like minor power. Everyone's meant to have one, and she doesn't, so she's kind of hiding from obviously the people with more power. And she finds herself in a situation where she saves one of the princes, and it kind of goes from there. Because of that moment where she saves him, she is chosen to do the trials, and that's what the first book follows. It just follows like the trials. Kai and Payden are probably my favourite book couple. I think they definitely are, actually, so I really love them. This book was didn't have the same sort of vibes as Powerless, and I don't think any of the books have really lived up to that vibe, but still really good. And then my 10th book is The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. This was another book that, kind of similar to the Rom-Commers, I rated a 4.75, but it kind of is a 5-star book. I really, really love this one. I think I preferred this one to the Rom-Commers. It's a book that I think it only has Georgia's point of view, but it follows Georgia, the female main character, and Eli, and they were friends, and they also have like another friend that's like also in their group, and then they kind of fell in love and they had a relationship, and then they broke up, and now their common friend, I guess, is getting married, and they both are obviously going to go to the wedding because it's their best friend, and they kind of reunite and they have to sort things out for the wedding because everything keeps going wrong, and they're doing it together, and they just have such a good connection. I really, really enjoyed this book. Like, even if there wasn't a romance in it, I still really enjoyed the story, and the setting was really well described. Kind of similar to what I said about These Twisted Bonds, also the Unmaking of June Farrow. I could really picture it, even though I couldn't, but I could really picture it. And I really, really love this book. I would highly recommend this one. I think if you haven't read The 7 Year Slip, out of all of the romances I've talked about, I'd recommend this one because I just really love it. It's also my favourite trope, which is childhood friends to lovers to enemies to lovers again. I just love that trope so much. And there was just so many little parts in this book that I really enjoyed, like just little moments. And I think I said this when I read it. I can't remember what video. It might have been my 24-hour reading vlog. I just really enjoyed the messages in this book about life and like about what you prioritize in your life, because the reason they ended things in the first place was very much avoidable, but it was kind of to do with priorities, I guess. And I could kind of relate to that in a way. And that is all of my books. So those are my top 10 books. I would pick them up, but they're so heavy. We're obviously 8 months in now, so only 4 months left. I don't think I'll be reading that many more books. Like, I obviously will be reading a few more books, but I think these last 4 months are going to be a bit more just chill and read when I want to. So we'll see. Maybe I'll set a little personal goal right now of 60 books for the year. So it's about 15 less than I hoped, but I'm pretty happy with 60. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you took some recommendations from this video. I also just hope these books kind of showed you what kind of books I love. If you have any recommendations based on these books, I'd love that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.